With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Some interesting developments as it relates to Destination Crenshaw, or Procrastination Crenshaw, as it's known around these parts. So just north of us on Crenshaw Boulevard in the 10th Council District, there's a black-owned restaurant called The District. Apparently, the restaurant is in some sort of legal dispute with the landlord, and it's gotten pretty ugly. So ugly, in fact, that the 3 black members of the LA City Council recorded a video in support of the restaurant, which is now circulating online. You might have seen it by now. To be clear, here at KBLA, we have nothing but love for Council members Heather Hutt and Curran D. Price Jr., who have been real champions for this particular black-owned and operated business, even though KBLA does not sit in either of their council districts. But take a listen to our 8th District Council member, Marquise Harris Dawson, who, as you know, is also president of the LA City Council.
Marquise Harris Dawson, president of the Los Angeles City Council and representative of District 8. We just want you to know, from the 10th District to the 8th District and all across the city, we love the district. We support Tyree and the whole team that's there. It's one of the most beloved sports watching facilities in our district, and we all stand by them 100%.
All right. Now, for starters, lip service is not leadership, and slogans are not solutions. That said, I played that video at least 5 times. I mean, I was gobsmacked. The council president stands with black businesses 100%? Oh, really? Is that just in the 10th Council District? Good brother, you need to travel south down Crenshaw about a half mile. When you get to Vernon, get out the car and walk a few blocks. Ask the black business owners in your 8th Council District how they feel about being economically asphyxiated, not by an alleged predatory landlord, but by a city project that you launched years ago and cannot seem to get across the finish line. Can I keep it real? Can I keep it real? What is the point of having a black city council president if he cannot find the funds to finish a years delayed project in his own district? What is the point of having a black city council president who cannot curate a business interruption development fund for the suffocating businesses in his own district? I declare, these black faces in high places don't mean diddly squat if they cannot deliver for black people. In the next editorial, I'm going to tell you what accountability looks like. And if the city still can't figure it out, well, I guess we'll have to show them. what accountability looks like. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays at the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And that puts us in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim, Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator, hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, a South Side of Chicago native and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign graduate, is a former high school history educator of 12 years, who now also advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to more than 4 million people each month as of 2024. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thanks again for having me, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, it's always a pleasure. Joining us at the half hour will be none other than the esteemed, nationally recognized attorney who has for more than 2 decades represented individuals and labor unions, state and federal court. Mr. Jackson, Joey Jackson, that is, and his associates have represented a diverse group of clients under the glare of cameras, as well as those who never attracted public attention. He has built an outstanding career as a defense lawyer representing clients who have fallen into high-stakes personal and professional crises, as well as those who are average citizens in need of his fierce and benevolent counsel. Looking forward to our conversation with Joey Jackson and Ernest Krim. Why? Because the Supreme Court is closing its term, and it has been extremely busy. Today, the Supreme Court ruled in expansion, a major case expanding the authority and the reach of presidential power. The Supreme Court ruled in a mail-in voting decision, which does matter for the midterms and should be of concern for everyone within the range of my listening voice, and of course, digital privacy and law enforcement. In the presidential firing powers case, the court significantly expanded executive power by ruling that a president can remove the heads of independent federal agencies at will, effectively dismantling a 91-year-old legal precedent, Humphrey's Executor versus the United States. However, the decision created a distinct carve-out for the nation's central bank. The Federal Reserve is protected. The justices ruled in a decision 6-3 that the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook, an African-American woman, can remain in her role while she legally fights the administration's attempts to fire her. We already know what that's all about. But Lisa Cook, for now, has her job, and the Supreme Court is on her side. However, the federal court also ruled simultaneously and upheld the firing of the Federal Trade Commissioner, Rebecca Slaughter, declaring that the president has the absolute authority to terminate leaders of other regulatory bodies without cause. Another issue that's particularly important to us, in a 5-4 decision written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, the court handed a defeat to the administration by preserving current mail-in ballot procedures ahead of the 2026 midterms congressional elections. The court ruled that states are legally permitted to count mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day, provided that they are postmarked on or before Election Day. The ruling rejected a Republican-led challenge seeking a uniform nationwide cutoff on election night. Ernest, I can't wait to have a discussion about these two issues with you in your classroom. Ernest?
Likewise, brother. As of right now, we have to come forward.
Oh, no doubt about that. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I wanted to set up the show because not only for the first 20 minutes are we going to be in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Grimm, brilliant lawyer, legal scholar, and a man of enormous legal, scholastic, and political potential, our very special guest to break down what is taking place in our nation's federal courts and the reshaping of the federal presidential administration is taking place right before our eyes. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More in Ernest Grimm's classroom when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. 5 years old, yeah, with more that's coming your way. Congratulations, come on, y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA. Look, 5 years deep and we still going up. Built it from the ground, now the real knowing us. Real talk on the air, then the truth get heard. Every day the proof getting served. He had a vision and he stayed with the plan. Now they tapped in from the beach to the land. Never back down, 7 days of the week. Still going up now, we 5 years deep. Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. Tell me smiling, you did it with 5 years today. Congratulations, come on y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Ernest, welcome forward to the show. Presidential firing powers. The Supreme Court, a sweeping decision, largely along the ideological lines, that the president has a capacity to fire federal officials, federal officers within the executive branch. On its face, it seems like it's obvious, but maybe not so obvious upon further scrutiny. Ernest, your initial thinking?
My initial thinking is I'm sometimes perplexed by the Supreme Court's decisions because sometimes it appears as if they are overwhelmingly in support of what this president is attempting to do, while other times it seems as if they might have a slight sense of sense. In this particular case right here, and I just want everybody to remember that I'm coming from the classroom, right? I'm still a certified social science teacher. I don't teach on a daily basis, but that's always my centering is our kids and our community. I think about what this will mean, all in all, about how we would explain this to kids in the classroom and what we would say to our kids in the household. What does it mean to have a democracy where we are slowly seeing that the democratic process, or what we call the democratic process, the so-called checks and balances system, we're seeing it give way to what this president would like to have for himself and for his party. And that appears to be a dictatorship, a monarchy. And to pull back something like this while also at the same time siding against him for the mail-in ballots, that's what I mean by the inconsistency right there. But I think that we have to make sure they understand how this gives way inch by inch to us lessening the rights that we have here as people who are regarded as citizens. And that's a whole nother conversation that will come across our tables very soon about what it even means to be a citizen in these United States, where it seems as if we had leaders in the Supreme Court who were probably more liberal and open-minded 150 years ago in some ways than they are now.
I think that's right. And in large measure because they were closer to the 14th Amendment than those of us who never had to fight for it, those of us who never experienced the concomitance of circumstances that laid the foundation for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. So there's a carve-out in this presidential firing powers, and we'll get more on that from Joy Jackson at the half hour. But the justices ruled in a 6-3 decision that the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook, a sister, can remain in her role while she legally fights the administration's attempts to fire her. However, other agencies are unprotected. The court simultaneously upheld the firing of Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter. So let's move the Rebecca Slaughter side. Let's dig in deeper into the Rebecca Slaughter side of this, because I happen to think that if the Attorney General is the head of a federal agency known as the Department of Justice, and the Attorney General of the United States is investigating the President of the United States or some of his friends or cronies, and the President of the United States wants to intervene in that case, that the idea that the President of the United States can fire a sitting Attorney General because of pending indictments or wrongdoing or an investigation against him or her, as well as or investigations into his friends or supporters that he wants to stop, and the Attorney General does not turn back the wheels of justice, that this decision allows the President of the United States to fire the Attorney General of the United States. We've already seen it taking place in this administration. I don't agree with that. That's obstruction of justice from my perspective, or at least it used to be.
Yeah, one of the best things he could have done for his, not even just his political career, but for his freedom, was to win that last election. Because I recall all the headlines leading up to that point in time was that, oh, for sure, he's going to be indicted. There were open discussions about the crimes he committed and the crimes he continued to commit. But when it became clear to the public that that was going to shift, of course, all of that took a back seat. And we have to constantly remind people that regardless of everything that he is doing to steer the conversation away, that we're still dealing with someone who has committed war crimes, someone who has done various unconstitutional things. We have to continue to center the Epstein files and various other things that have come to the forefront. This is a person who has the title of president, but he's nowhere near what that title should encompass. And what we're seeing over the course of the last year and a half now is an attempt to take all the conversations away from the crimes he has done to continue to distract us as American citizens from what we are seeing happen over the course of his 2 terms.
You know, when I was a little old U.S. representative from the South Side of Chicago in the Congress of the United States, I'm at least secure enough in my knowledge and information that I took great pride in hiring people who knew better and knew more than I did. When I sat down as the representative of the people that I represented in Congress, I mean, I wanted the best chief of staff. I wanted the best legislative director. I wanted people, the best communications director. I wanted people who could help me write an editorial, help me write an opinion editorial piece, who could help me think through a thought or raise critical questions when I'm sitting in committee, looking at agency heads and others to whom the committee that I served on had oversight over their basic functions. I was comfortable and secure in that space. Sometimes my initial whims, things that I thought should take place, I was advised against it by people around me who said, nah, that doesn't make sense. Why don't we approach it this way? Why don't we use Congressman report language as opposed to filing a piece of legislation? Because filing a piece of legislation gives people an opportunity to organize against your legislation, but report language allows for the creation of a study that allows people to rally behind the study and then support the legislation that you might offer in this space. I did that a number of times in the healthcare space, and I was very successful in passing legislation as a result of using the report language. What this smells of to me is a president who is immensely insecure, gets to hire people and put them in positions who are not more thoughtful than he or she is, but people who do specifically what he tells them to do. And if the president isn't very enlightened, inspired, knowledgeable, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that the head of the CDC, someone who might have multiple medical degrees, as well as studies in biology and virology and all kinds of other ologies in order to be the head of the Centers for Disease Control. It doesn't matter, because in the eyes of the president, you already know less than he or she does. And therefore, they don't want anything coming out of the Centers for Disease Control, including good information about the spread of Ebola or any other kind of virus globally and how it's a threat to the United States. Because maybe as president of the United States, you might conclude that such a virus won't make it on a flight or in fruit or in some kind of produce or commerce to the shores of the United States. And that is exactly what the head of the CDC is tasked to find out. The very thing that you're not interested in is what they think through. Ernest, this stinks and smells of the imperial presidency.
For sure. And what I think about as you talk is, a hallmark of intelligence is knowing what you're great at and knowing what your limitations are. I think about in my household, I taught history, I taught social studies, econ, and government, right? My wife is currently a math teacher, a great math teacher. So when it comes to helping our kids with their work, I never try to step into her lane, right? And she never tries to step into my lane. To me, it's almost like you can tell putting this on a practical level, when we have artists that release work, we can tell at a certain point when they've had too many yes men and women in their circle, as opposed to no man and women, right? When you, like you said, when you continue to grow and when you want to be a leader, you want people who are going to actually check you and tell you like, no, that's not it. We all know, like, and I'm not in any way comparing this president to people that we have liked as artists, but here's the comparison. We know when we first like somebody, that those first couple albums, those first 3 stand-up specials, we love it. But it gets to a point where they fire everybody they came up with and they start to hire people that are just going to agree with anything they want. And those people, what they don't understand is they have ulterior motives too, just like that person does. So they don't even really care about him. They have their own objectives. And when things come crashing down, the first thing they are going to do is point fingers at him to save their own self. This is the equivalent to me of a person saying, look, I want to rob the bank, but it's too obvious if I go in there, with the gun, or I go in there with the attire of a criminal or a thug, right? But if I can become the head of the bank and I hire people in those positions, the bank tellers and the private bankers, then we can get this done easy. And that's what we're seeing happen from when he was in office the first time to what we're seeing now. And I think what I continue to grow concerned about, again, putting this back into a practical level as an educator, is when his time as the quote unquote principal is over, who is he passing this baton to? Or does he even aspire to that? Because we also have to keep in mind the status of his health. This is not the same things he said about President Joe Biden are the same things that are afflicting him as a person right now. Father Time always wins. Amazing.
Let me tell you something funny, man, to make sense out of this, since you're breaking it down to where the Billy Goats and the students can get it. When I was growing up, I used to, and I still love to fish, right? So my grandmama Tibby, Matilda Burns, used to fish with a pole. She would take a little worm, put it on a hook, a little beat moss, and she would just sling the line on out there at the tip of the pole, and we would watch the bobber go up and down, and she snatched the bluegill or the crappie right out of the water. I went shopping the other day at the Bass Pro Shop, and I bought about 4 or 5 of them little poles right there because I don't want it to be complicated. Grandma Tibby wasn't complicated. She never used a reel. She just used a pole. Then I got sophisticated looking over at my grandpa, and my grandpa went and got me one of them little cheap Zebcos. That's the little reel where you push the little button, and then you put a worm on it, but you push the little button on the reel and you kind of throw it out there. And just before you throw it out, you let the button go. And then it casts it a little further than what Grandma Tibby could do with the pole. And as I got older, and I'm 61 years old, for the last 30, 40 years, I've been using a spinning reel, which is an open face reel that is a little bit more complicated because you have to pull the bill back and you throw it out there. And I'm really, really comfortable and competent in using a spinning reel. But in the last 2 weeks, I've been moving and trying to move to the baitcaster, which is a very, very complicated reel, but it's very, very different in terms of targeting the kind of fish that I want to catch, which is called a bass, right? So I've been hanging around the Bass Pro Shop. I've been going to Cabela's. I've been going to these little spots, hanging around people that I don't know, listening to little conversations about bait casting because I'm trying to teach myself how to bait cast, which is different than any other form of fishing that I've done in my life, but it's far more difficult. In other words, I have to hang around people who know more than I do about catching bass for the kind of fish that I want to catch, which is a very thoughtful fish. It is an elusive fish. It is a discerning fish. And it is a fish that is as intelligent as any one of us are doing anything. I have to have people around me who know more than I do. And that's not a weakness, Ernest. I'm sure you've figured that out. That's a strength to be able to acknowledge that even at 61 years old, we still have to grow. Ernest?
Profound. Absolutely profound. You made me realize I haven't been fishing in a long time, and that's a problem. So I got to figure that out this summer. So thank you for that. I got to teach my kids because I barely know how myself. But maybe me and you could go sometime.
I very much look forward to it. We are in Mr. Crimp's classroom. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. A number of critical Supreme Court decisions have been decided today, and maybe the mother of all Supreme Court decisions will be decided, it is believed, tomorrow on citizenship and what is meant by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution's the Citizenship Clause, which, as you know, and everyone within the sound of my voice knows, that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are largely the amendments that brought to an end the peculiar institution of slavery and the citizenship rights of African Americans who had been in this country since 1619, and whose first 4th of July, July 4th, 1776, it would take 88 years before they would be emancipated with the Emancipation Proclamation, then the 13th Amendment, and then 1867, 1868, the 14th Amendment is added to the Constitution, inviting them into citizenship within the United States. The Supreme Court, rather than passing on a decision about citizenship, will be probably ruling tomorrow on what constitutes a U.S. citizen, and that has profound implications for the Negro in America. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim. More on KBLA Talk 1580 on Moving Mountain Mondays when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Friends and family gathered in Manhattan to say their final goodbyes to legendary music producer Clive Davis. Kenny G performed at Central Synagogue, where mourners heard tributes from Barry Manilow, Bruce Springsteen, and Alicia Keys.
Clive, you are woven into the fabric of who I am, not just as an artist, as a woman.
Jennifer Hudson also sang during the service, which was followed by a private burial. Texas Democrats are leaving their Corpus Christi convention with work to do before November. Senate candidate James Tallarico is trying to shore up support among Black voters after beating Black Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in the primary, while Democrats also court rural GOP voters on border security. And O.J. Simpson will not be featured on the Wall of Fame at the new Highmark Stadium. Bills CEO says Simpson does not represent what the team stands for despite his 9 seasons in Buffalo. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Busy night? Stonefire Grill makes dinner easy with the family 4-pack. A complete meal for 4 with chicken, pizza, pasta, salad, and breadsticks. All for just $49. Order today at stonefiregrill.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If you're planning to watch Serena Williams' first singles match in 4 years, you're going to have to be up early or take some time away from work. Serena's first round match at Wimbledon is scheduled for Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. ESPN will have live coverage. Serena is facing Maya Joint of Australia. Joint is 24 years younger than Serena. The 44-year-old Compton native is making a comeback after retiring from tennis in 2022. The Dodgers beat San Diego Sunday 4-2. The Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Padres in San Diego. They increased their lead in the NL West to 10 games. Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts was 2 for 4 at the plate. Betts delivered a 2-run single with the bases loaded. In the last 10 games, Betts is batting .366 with 15 hits and 9 RBIs. The Dodgers are 5-1 on their current road trip. They start a 3-game series tonight in Sacramento against the A's. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're in the classroom with Mr. Ernest Krim on Moving Mountain Monday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In addition to being an Emmy-nominated producer, Ernest has created content for companies such as HBO, Hulu, Disney, Paramount, and the History Channel. Additionally, he is the CEO of Krim's Cultural Consulting, LLC, an international speaker who's spoken at Harvard, the University of Chicago, Microsoft, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights Camp, and audiences in the UK and Canada, and author of 2 books, and a passionate progressive education activist who's worked closely with organizations to advocate for educational and political equity, reparations, and mental health awareness and food justice. Ernest, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Hey, I was just during the break, I went to watch CNN for just a moment, and it seems to me that even though the presidential powers case on the Federal Reserve was clearly decided in favor of Ms. Cook, the president's he wants to talk about the Slaughter decision, the other agencies that are unprotected. He said, yeah, I know you're asking me a question about that. This is what Donald Trump said within the last 2 minutes. He says, I know you want to talk about what the court ruled with respect to the Federal Reserve, but Trump said, why don't you just ask me a question about the Slaughter decision, about slaughter? So the court simultaneously, after it dealt with Lisa Cook, ruled in the firing of Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, declaring that the president has the absolute authority to terminate leaders of other regulatory bodies without cause. That's what's on his mind right now. He's so excited that he gets to be the apprentice president and fire people this week, right now, that he can't see straight. Ernest, its consequences and implications are extraordinary.
Yeah, if he can't burn down that house, he'll focus on every other one in the neighborhood. That's what he does.
I think there's no doubt about it that it's coming. I am obviously very concerned in the election year about the mail-in voting decision. In a decision 5-4 written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, the court handed defeat to the administration by preserving current mail-in ballot procedures ahead of the 2026 midterm congressional elections. The court ruled that, watch this now, states, all 50 of them, are legally permitted to count mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day. Now, that's a victory. I applaud the court for that, provided that they are postmarked on or before Election Day. The ruling rejected a Republican-led challenge seeking a uniform nationwide cutoff on election night. Now, one of the reasons, Ernest, I want to talk with Joey when he joins us momentarily is this. While on the one hand, it is a defeat for Donald Trump, who wanted to eliminate the idea of mail-in ballots, it is a victory for state rights, because it says that states essentially may permit the counting of ballots after Election Day. But the states themselves don't have to. So we will have some states who will be very progressive in their interpretation, wait for every ballot postmarked on Election Day or in that space or before Election Day and wait for them to be counted. We will have other states that will say you must count them on Election Day. And as far as I can tell on my reading of the decision, that's not unconstitutional. That's troubling. That's still troubling for me. Trump loses, but states' rights wins.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought too. It's always interesting too, man, to see like how they swing between advocating for states' rights versus advocating for federal control over something, right? Because when you talk to somebody about, well, why are you flying the Confederate flag? Oh, because states' rights, because of my heritage and things like that. But you want the federal government to mandate something like this. But that's the first thing that stood out to me when you read that. And I would imagine that we'll see this divide in states that have been red. So you have to think about, who your postmaster is. You have to think about if your county is red and what they might do, like you said, and they'll probably assume or they'll act as if certain mail-in ballots weren't actually received until the day after the election. So this is still a cause for concern to me. And I would, if at all possible, I understand everybody is not able-bodied, but if at all possible, I'm going to recommend several months in advance, even as the midterms and everything are going on, like, please, if you can, as soon as early voting begins, go in person to vote so that we can attempt to avoid this.
So if you're I like that example that you gave. If you're a county official in a red state or a red county, and you've cast your vote on time, and the post office delivers the votes, that's a federal post office, to whoever's responsible for counting them, the Secretary of State or the local county clerk or whatever, and then the president of the county or the county board says, I'm giving everybody a week off. So all these ballots are sitting on our desk because we never sent them to the county clerk. Now, you can get the local counties to declare a holiday and say, we aren't going to count the votes, or we're not delivering. The post office has to deliver mail, but the county clerk and the county's off during that period. Then what? So we're still without now. Cook County and the city of Chicago, LA County has an interest in making sure that votes are counted as quickly as possible so that the people can have confidence in democracy. But then there are other counties in the country where they may not have an interest in making sure people feel comfortable voting and participating in democracy. Then what? And there are 3,500 counties, some of whom will count all of the votes as soon as and as quickly as possible beyond election day, and others of whom might have a worker outage or a shortage on those days, making it impossible to count votes in a reasonable time to certify an election that's trustworthy and honest, that isn't full of political corruption. Hence, I find it fascinating that when it comes to building highways and building trains from California all the way to the state of Maine, or from the north all the way to the deep south, we can build a train and have it ride on the same track. But in our democracy, we can't have the same system in every county that counts and delivers a certified election either on the day or shortly after the election, because each of those systems are different, with lots of latitude and lots of leniency, and in some counties, lots of history of keeping people from voting in the first place. Ernest?
Brother, we have a very intricate postal system here, and I want to applaud everybody that works in that field. I don't think any of us has any idea what goes into it after you mail a letter, with mail your postal worker. Both of my grandfathers worked for the Postal Service. And I could just, when we drop something off, like this, just the intricacy of what goes into dropping that off and then going to the house, right? And I'm saying that because it's often mysterious to us. And it would be very easy for someone to just say, or a group of people to just say that we have no idea what happened to the ballots that were mailed in this district that just so happens to be, of course, a Democratic one. I want people to remember and understand that only one party in this country right now is attempting to limit the amount of people who vote in a country that is supposed to be a democracy. There was only one party that has attempted to limit that. We call, like, what we're experiencing is not an expansion of democratic rights and principles. What we're seeing is an attempt to maintain and have an oligarchy, a government by a few. Because the understanding is, and we have to really be clear on this, we have to ask questions. Why would they want to do that? Because I think they know and understand that the more people that vote, the more people who are aware of their crimes and what they do, the less likely they are to be able to maintain power. So that's what it is, and that's what it has always been. We have to remind people that when this country first became a thing, that only white men who owned property could vote. Not all white men, not white women, only white men who own property. So we're talking a plutocracy ruled by the wealthy. This democratic experiment we're talking about has only been roughly for the past 51 years since the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And they saw the progress that we have led and participated in, and we're like, oh, no. We can't do that. So we have to stay aware of what they are attempting to do, because the reason, of course, is nefarious. And it's because they understand that when we are participating, by and large, in higher percentages, locally, federally, statewide, then we can maintain power, control our power and our destiny.
When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, Joey Jackson, nationally recognized attorney who has for more than 2 decades represented individuals, labor unions, state and federal court. Mr. Jackson and his associates have represented a diverse group of clients under the glare of cameras, as well as those who've never attracted public attention. He's built an outstanding career as a defense lawyer, representing clients who've fallen into high-stakes personal and professional crises. I'm so grateful that he's our very special guest. Joey, please come forward and say hi right quick before we come forward.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone, especially you.
Joey, I'm so grateful that you're here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Supreme Court's decision and mail-in voting and presidential firing powers. When we come forward, we'll have about 9 minutes in the final segment of our show, but I'm very glad that you're here. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Joey Jackson and Mr. Ernest Krim when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity, and you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at kbla1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-324-3030. That's 800-324-3030. Again, that's 800-324-3030.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays. We're in Mr. Crimp's classroom, and our very special guest in this segment really doesn't need an introduction, but I will give him a brief one. He is simply the best and the brightest public lawyer, private lawyer, and counselor in the United States today. He is known all over the nation for his brilliant analysis, the conciseness within which he makes very difficult and complicated legal concepts very simple so that the average person can understand. Attorney Joey Jackson is our guest. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I appreciate your very kind words, Dr. Jackson, and it's good to be with you and Brother Ernest.
Joey, I want to dive right in. Ernest and I spent some time in this hour talking about presidential firing powers and the mail-in voting deadlines, and I'm sure you have something to contribute in that space. But I got to tell you, for the time that I have with you in this moment, the big case that we're all expecting is this question of citizenship and the 14th Amendment. And it's expected, I guess, sometime, possibly tomorrow, which is, I guess, the last day of the term of the court, and everyone's kind of sitting on pins and needles. I have read the 14th Amendment a half a dozen times today. And am I missing something? Is there a nuance to the 14th Amendment that the court would even take a case on the question of the 14th Amendment that we're missing here, Joey?
I do not believe that you missed anything. I think, but listen, I think what we cannot miss is the fact that we have a 6-3 majority, super Republican majority, and the manner in which this court has been interpreting decisions. I could take you to the voting rights decision on Calais, which essentially gutted the Voting Rights Act, and I could take you to what they did today relating to expanding the president's powers vastly. I could take you to a number of decisions which are head scratching. And so, listen, I don't think you missed anything. It clearly says born or subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. I think what the Republicans are attempting to do is say, hey, you're not really subject to the jurisdiction of the United States because you're a foreigner and you're an immigrant and you've sworn allegiance to another country. It's never, never, never the 14th Amendment and subject to the jurisdiction thereof been interpreted that way. It's been interpreted as if you're born here, you're obviously physically here, and you're therefore subject to and need to abide by the laws. So I don't believe there's a snowball's chance in this becoming the new standard. But remember what they did today is they invalidated 91 years of precedent. Not the first time this court has done that. They invalidated 91 years of precedent when they determined that the president has authority to fire people, even with independent agencies that Congress has promulgated laws to protect. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I think it's part of a larger pattern that very much concerns me about our democracy and its future.
Joey, one last question, if I might. The president, who's not a lawyer, at least as I understand it, has kind of hinted at the idea that the 14th Amendment was designed, structured, and the result of the peculiar institution of slavery, and that these particular provisions only affect or concern the descendants and the children and the offspring of those whose families were formerly a part of that dreadful period in American history. Joy, that interpretation couldn't be more regressive than any interpretation we've heard since the inception of the amendment itself.
Yeah, but I don't know why we would be surprised at that interpretation, because this is the manner. And again, I'm not being derogatory. I'm just calling balls and strikes. Diversity, equity, and inclusion was a word of celebration. Was a word that we can put our stock into. We are better because we're diverse. We're more talented. We see things from a variety of perspective. That has been deemed to be a curse word, essentially, under this administration. We've got a court that's allowing for the mass deportation. Hey, you're from Haiti, see you later. Syria, goodbye. And so, listen, I just think it's part of a larger philosophy. Even the Department of War, they used to call that the Department of War back in the days of segregation. If anybody listening, go check it out, right? So we're coming even back to that. And so, again, I'm not being derogatory, inflammatory. I'm hitting you with facts. I think that we're in a very dangerous time, and cutting funding to critical programs that are elevating and uplifting our community, like Head Start, cutting student loans that would allow people in our communities to get educated, cutting, again, diversity, equity, inclusion, which would allow for, schools to promote the best and the brightest by giving people an opportunity that weren't put with a silver spoon in their mouth. Corporations, the same thing, denigrating them because people of color are advancing through the ranks. We're in very scary times. And I'll end it by, I know the time is scarce, but this voting thing is particularly scary because of the fact of what they're attempting to do. You look at the gerrymandering that's happening, that was called for by this president to try to rig the elections. You look for the Save America Act, which you got to produce a birth certificate. Oh, you don't have one, you got to produce a passport. And forget about online voting, and forget about the Department of Motor Vehicles automatically,
Forget it that most Negroes don't have one, and forget it that most Negroes ain't going nowhere and don't have a need for a passport.
Right. It's crazy. So it's part of a larger narrative which suppresses the community, not only now, but for generations unborn. If this continues, elections have consequences, and that's why we have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. We know who appointed them. So I am very concerned, notwithstanding the law, because and I know that lawyers can make any argument, and depending upon who you're making the argument to, like this irrational Supreme Court that we have now, who knows what they do.
Mr. Krim?
Yeah, once again, thanks again for your time, Brother Jackson. In closing, I would ask you to do what I'm expected to do every Monday. And I know this is very difficult. In about 90 seconds or so, can you provide us with a word of hope somehow, some way?
I certainly can, and I will do it in the spirit of the good brother, Dr. Jesse Jackson Jr.'s dad, and that is that we always have to, really think about hope and keep hope alive and do everything that in our power and authority to have hope. The reality is that as long as God keeps us breathing and keeps us alive, we all have a chance. But we have to empower ourselves. How? We have to empower ourselves by going to the polls, by making sure we vote, by spreading the word, by being focused on our democracy, by taking care of our children, by making sure that they know that they've got to uplift and educate themselves, by being part of this, big mosaic, and just by being tuned in to what's happening so that we don't get hoodwinked, had, and bamboozled. And so I remain hopeful, as a child of the Most High, as we all are, right? We know that he's got us. We know that better days are ahead, but faith without works is dead. And so we have to do everything and anything on any given day, Monday through Sunday, all right, to make sure we stay on track, because it's easy to get pulled off and it's easy to see the negative. But when I see people like you, Dr. Ernest and Dr. Jackson, I'm emboldened, because I know we have good people on that wall who are fighting hard for all of us and educating our communities and letting us know that we could be better tomorrow than we were today.
Joey, thank you for keeping up the fight. Okay, brother?
No doubt.
Appreciate you
God
so
bless.
much. Ernest, it
Always.
doesn't get much better
Thank you.
than that. If we had to pay our brother Joey Jackson for his contribution to our show, we simply couldn't do it. He is a brilliant thinker, a wonderful person, a seriously dedicated family man, seriously dedicated lawyer, and committed to justice in our country. And I'm so grateful, Ernest, that he finds great comfort in spending our time on the Ernest Krim Show and Moving Mountain Mondays with Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. Ernest, thank you very much for this week.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Terry Hort Owens when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Friends and family gathered in Manhattan to say their final goodbyes to legendary music producer Clive Davis. Kenny G performed at Central Synagogue, where mourners heard tributes from Barry Manilow, Bruce Springsteen, and Alicia Keys.
Clive, you are woven into the fabric of who I am, not just as an artist, as a woman.
Jennifer Hudson also sang during the service, which was followed by a private burial. Texas Democrats are leaving their Corpus Christi convention with work to do before November. Senate candidate James Tallarico is trying to shore up support among Black voters after beating Black Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in the primary, while Democrats also court rural GOP voters on border security. And O.J. Simpson will not be featured on the Wall of Fame at the new Highmark Stadium. Bills CEO says Simpson does not represent what the team stands for despite his 9 seasons in Buffalo. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Busy night? Stonefire Grill makes dinner easy with the family 4-pack. A complete meal for 4 with chicken, pizza, pasta, salad, and breadsticks. All for just $49. Order today at stonefiregrill.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If you're planning to watch Serena Williams' first singles match in 4 years, you're going to have to be up early or take some time away from work. Serena's first round match at Wimbledon is scheduled for Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. ESPN will have live coverage. Serena is facing Maya Joint of Australia. Joint is 24 years younger than Serena. The 44-year-old Compton native is making a comeback after retiring from tennis in 2022. The Dodgers beat San Diego Sunday 4-2. The Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Padres in San Diego. They increased their lead in the NL West to 10 games. Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts was 2 for 4 at the plate. Betts delivered a 2-run single with the bases loaded. In the last 10 games, Betts is batting .366 with 15 hits and 9 RBIs. The Dodgers are 5-1 on their current road trip. They start a 3-game series tonight in Sacramento against the A's. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Some interesting developments as it relates to Destination Crenshaw, or Procrastination Crenshaw, as it's known around these parts. So just north of us on Crenshaw Boulevard in the 10th Council District, there's a Black-owned restaurant called The District. Apparently, the restaurant is in some sort of legal dispute with the landlord, and it's gotten pretty ugly. So ugly, in fact, that the 3 Black members of the LA City Council recorded a video in support of the restaurant, which is now circulating online. You might have seen it by now. To be clear, here at KBLA, we have nothing but love for Council members Heather Hutt and Curran D. Price Jr., who have been real champions for this particular Black-owned and operated business, even though KBLA does not sit in either of their council districts. But take a listen to our 8th District Council member, Marquise Harris Dawson, who, as you know, is also president of the LA City Council.
Marquise Harris Dawson, president of the Los Angeles City Council and representative of District 8. We just want you to know, from the 10th District to the 8th District and all across the city, we love the district. We support Tyree and the whole team that's there. It's one of the most beloved sports watching facilities in our district, and we all stand by them 100%.
All right. Now, for starters, lip service is not leadership, and slogans are not solutions. That said, I played that video at least 5 times. I mean, I was gobsmacked. The council president stands with Black businesses 100%? Oh, really? Is that just in the 10th Council District? Good brother, you need to travel south down Crenshaw about a half mile. When you get to Vernon, get out the car and walk a few blocks. Ask the Black business owners in your 8th Council District how they feel about being economically asphyxiated, not by an alleged predatory landlord, but by a city project that you launched years ago and cannot seem to get across the finish line. Can I keep it real? Can I keep it real? What is the point of having a Black city council president if he cannot find the funds to finish a years delayed project in his own district? What is the point of having a Black city council president who cannot curate a business interruption development fund for the suffocating businesses in his own district. I declare, these black faces in high places don't mean diddly squat if they cannot deliver for black people. In the next editorial, I'm going to tell you what accountability looks like. And if the city still can't figure it out, well, I guess we'll have to show them what accountability looks like. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are now in the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Teresa Hord Owens. The Supremes are at it again. The Supremes have done it again. But I'm not talking Diana Ross and the Supremes. I am talking about Amy Coney Barrett and the Supremes. Our very special guest in this hour is Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens, General Minister and President of the Christian Church in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She's the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination since her election in 2017. Reverend Terry Hord Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens is a native of Terre Haute, Indiana, and a descendant of one of Indiana's oldest African-American free settlements. She earned her bachelor's degree in government with a minor in Afro-American studies from Harvard University. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. It's always good to be here.
Reverend, the Supremes are at it again. And in our last segment on the show, none other than the brilliant lawyer, Attorney Joey Jackson, was our very special guest. By the way, I have great expectations and hopes for the future of Joey Jackson. I would really love to see him in the United States Senate or as Attorney General of the United States or in a presidential debate on his way to the White House, quite frankly, because I think he has that kind of capacity.
I heard the segment. Yeah, I heard the segment. I got to hear it. Yeah.
Your thoughts, Madam President, on what the court's up to?
Well, I mean, what I've heard you and also Ernest say also is that at first blush, when you first hear it, it seemed like certainly a victory. And I think it is a victory in the sense that mail-in ballots have not been banned or considered unconstitutional. But that language that you raised of May, it raises too much open space there for states' discretion. And while the leaving it to the states about how they govern their elections is one thing, but what we have always had historically is a federal standard about who could vote and who could move forward. They're always leaving just enough daylight to sort of get through. And in this environment, these state governments cannot be trusted. They claim that the Calais decision was simply leaving it to the states to decide how they did things. And of course, what happened? A flurry of states redistricted, gerrymandered out the wazoo. And so anytime there's that little bit of daylight, and let's see what happens in the following weeks, I think this is going to be a little more sticky for people because you're kind of halfway through the 26 primary process, and there's still some places that haven't voted. And so to start changing some of those things they may, and again, I'm not an attorney, they may open themselves up for some legal liability and some countersuits if it can be proven that they have disadvantaged certain groups. But it used to be we could kind of count on a more inclusive view of the law, and what we're living through is a de-escalation of that inclusivity, and it's become more and more exclusive. And once again, we're back 100 years or so where we can no longer count on the inclusive, just nature of the law to guide us. It's the built-in. Yeah,
Madam President, I think you're spot on. I mean, I'm looking now in line because this opinion's evolving. We're discussing it for the first time. I'm looking at states now like Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I'm looking for some states, some of the more difficult states in terms of voter protection, any moment now to read the decision and move in the direction of, okay, as long as they're counted on election day, then we've done what we're supposed to do. We don't have an obligation to extend the election beyond the date that we've set. That's what I think the court left the discretion for the state to do. And you know exactly what that means in states that have a history of making people count jelly beans, count beans in a jar.
Right.
Threats, and all of the above. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are with an icon. Reverend Terry Hoard Owens is the first person of color and the second woman to lead a major Christian denomination in the United States. More when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Faith Not to Fall with Terry Hoard Owens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. 5 years old, yeah, with more that's coming your way. Congratulations, come on, y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA. Look, 5 years deep and we still going up. Built it from the ground, never real, no one else. Real talk on the air, then the truth get heard. Every day the proof getting served. He had a vision and he stayed with the plan. Now they tapped in from the beach to the land. Never back down, 7 days of the week, still going up now. We 5 years deep. Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. Happy smiling, you did it with 5 years today. Congratulations, come on y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices, Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're listening to the J Lunch Club right here on Moving Mountain Mondays and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. Reverend Owens earned a Master of Divinity degree from the University of Chicago School of Divinity, where she was a Disciples Divinities House Scholar and a recipient of the John Gray Rind Award given to the top MDiv graduate students at the Divinity School. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks, my brother. So good to be with you.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Madam President. Madam President, can I read Section 1 of the 14th Amendment to you?
Please do.
The same question I asked Joey Jackson, because
Yeah.
I've read it 6 times today. This will be the 7th. 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor, semicolon, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, that's one big clause. Well, actually, there's 2 sentences in there, but that's Section 1 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. I asked Joey Jackson the question, am I missing something here, or is there some kind of nuance to the plain language of the 14th Amendment that the court would even take this up in the first place unless they're looking for something that isn't there, some kind of tortured logic, Madam President, that could shock the conscience of the nation probably by tomorrow. Madam President?
Yeah, tortured, what did Joey call it? The irrational court. I mean, we all understand history. We understand the amendment that eliminated slavery, the 14th Amendment, which grants birthright citizenship, not just to persons who were formerly enslaved, but that the 14th Amendment was adjudicated, I think, for an Asian immigrant man who wanted to prove that he had a right to have full citizenship. So the intent was to certainly eradicate the vestiges of slavery in perpetuity. And the fact that this court continues to reach back, as I said earlier, for more exclusive interpretations is really, really troubling. More perfect union to me means we ought to be getting better at this over time. We were certainly not in a perfect state 250 years ago, but more perfect. We're now in a regressive trajectory here. We're eliminating people from the protections that you just outlined. And as I tell people about God, if you're talking to me about a God that's excluding a whole lot of people, I'm not really interested in that God. This nation has never been a nation. The vision that, or the narrative that we tell about ourselves has always been of being an inclusive. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Oh, I'm sorry, except for those of you who are from S-hole countries. We're going backwards, and we don't seem to have the moral breaks to speak up and stop the madness. It's really disturbing. I've been reading Kimberly Crenshaw Williams' sort of a memoir called Backtalker. Oh, so good. If you have not read it, As a Black woman, she's the legal scholar that really gave us that idea of intersectionality. And one of the things that she grapples with throughout her education and her work is that even though, just like we know race is a part of our society and race is a part of our history, race has always been sort of inherently still built into the laws in terms of even how we interpret them over time. And this is just another case of that. The law is actually never really been colorblind. We've kind of had to fight every time to ensure that those liberties that were proclaimed were true and available to us all. But there's inherent injustice built into how people are interpreting the very documents that were intended to establish for all time. At least there was an aspirational idea that those things would happen. But we're going in the wrong direction here.
Madam President, I'd like your opinion, your opinion on the morality associated with determining what constitutes, if you will, a refugee. Now, for me, I see Jesus of Nazareth in the early years of his life as essentially applying for refugee status to the country of Egypt because he was being hunted by the king, if you will, the provincial governor of Judea at the hour of his birth. So my leanings tend to be in that space. But when I look at 350,000 Haitians who lost temporary protected status along with Syrians, and I think about the president of the United States' attack on Ilhan Omar and the Somalians, I'm thinking that this is just the beginning of a massive deportation process over the next 2.5 years of what remains in Donald Trump's administration that will be something we haven't ever seen before. Madam President?
Yeah. It is certainly not grounded in any sense of morality, not in any sense of what theologians would say the imago Dei, and that concept simply means you believe that everyone is created in the image of God. However you see or frame what that Holy One is or how that Holy One interacts with you. But you cannot, I think, be in a situation as my British friend who's a consultant in the UK. She does a lot of work around cultural intelligence, Julia Middleton. And she has, I think, her hallmark phrase that I quote all the time: you are not the benchmark for all people. So there's actually no one ethnicity or gender or religious belief that was ever intended. The aspiration was that the very first pilgrims, as restrictive as the Puritans turned out to be, the goal was to be able to worship freely. Roger Williams and the Baptists had to leave the Puritan colonies because they were trying to tell them how to worship, and they're like, that's not why we came here. The idea that you could declare another human being to be inferior to yourself and that you could decide to limit that person's access to the very society that you yourself have access just falls apart on its face under anybody's moral system. And I think that's the other concern. We have large groups of Haitian disciples in Ohio, in New York, particularly in Brooklyn, and also in Florida. So was it last year when Trump was talking about the Haitians are eating the dogs and the cats of their neighbors? I and the regional minister in Ohio and other leaders of our church spoke out against that. I do not know how you deny people hope, how you deny people the opportunity to make a better life. Particularly, you're talking Haiti. Look at Venezuela. That's essentially what happened to Haiti in many ways. The infrastructure is devastated there. The corruption, the crime, it's dangerous, the violence. There's no way to really rebuild a life sending people back to Haiti, particularly people that have never lived there to begin with. We've got to be much more expansive about who we include. And if someone has a desire to build a better life, that's why your ancestors came from Ireland and Switzerland and all the other places. People were hungry. People wanted to make a better life. Why do my brown-skinned brothers and sisters and my Black brothers and sisters not have the same right to that same possibility and opportunity for hope? Who are you to decide that I am not worthy? That's a fundamental human failing for anyone who claims to believe in a higher being. It's just a failure. I don't care what religious system you look at. You deny your neighbor, you've denied morality.
Madam President, what are you hearing from Haitian congregants who are members of your church and your denomination? Is there an anxiety now that is moving, and a spirit that's moving through the Haitian community with the future?
Absolutely. And there are many that are citizens now, but they are just as concerned about their brothers and sisters who have a TPS status. There's a lot of anger in Haitian communities. There's a real entrepreneurial spirit among the Haitians. Many people are in the medical field. We have entrepreneurial bivocational pastors. One pastor in Brooklyn built some relationships with the disciples in upstate New York and in Brooklyn, and he's planted probably close to a dozen churches, but they also have different professions. They have really come and made a good life for themselves here and contributed to the communities in which they're a part. So these are not, these are communities that came to find a better life and took advantage of the opportunities, are paying their taxes, are educating themselves. University of Chicago, there's a pretty strong Haitian community at the medical center. There are scientists, doctors. There in smaller communities, and particularly in Ohio, one of the concerns was there were so many medical professionals who were of Haitian descent that they were concerned that people would not feel comfortable staying there, and they needed that to enrich the access to healthcare. So Haitian people across our church, they're angry, and we've been having some conversations about how we want to speak, what we want to do. Things are not clear and settled out yet as to where, how we will speak. But we spoke on this last year, a large group of leaders. But people are concerned, and the ones that have status, that ones that have citizenship status, are trying to resource legal consult for those who have TPS. We have an immigration attorney who works for our church, and she can't handle every case, but she certainly does help triage and hopefully get people to resources that might be able to do the legal support either pro bono or at a reduced rate. But it's just another element of fear. Again, why are we creating fear? A nation that's supposed to offer hope and promise. Why are we excluding and creating fear? It's an anomaly. It's an anathema to who we are.
I'm feeling some kind of way about the welcoming of South Africans to the United States. And the programs that are being designed to benefit these South Africans who are actually written into the South African Constitution for the purposes of their minority status and their protections. They are with constitutional rights in South Africa. There is no evidence, the president and others have suggested, that they've been maltreated or discriminated against under the Constitution of South Africa. And yet the United States of America is literally recruiting them to come to the United States under the very programs that they're trying to deport others out of. The hypocrisy, Madam President, is nothing short of astounding.
Absolutely. I'll have more to say on that when we come back if you give me space. I have some inside track on some of that. Yeah.
I promise you will. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. The Supreme Court is keeping us really busy this week. This is the end of the term. We're waiting for a major decision on the 14th Amendment, which will likely be rendered tomorrow. We've already heard presidential firing powers have now been expanded as if it is some kind of great apprentice show. Mail-in voting has obviously been deferred to the states. A loss for Donald Trump, but a victory for states' rights is not a victory for us. And so turning this power over to the states and away from the federal government is to undermine what could be the John Lewis law when Democrats take control of the Congress. We don't get to ignore the fact that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 would have strengthened the space that we are presently in. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're looking at the Faith Not the Fall, listening to and with and speaking with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
faces in high places don't mean diddly squat if they cannot deliver for black people. In the next editorial, I'm going to tell you what accountability looks like. And if the city still can't figure it out, well, I guess we'll have to show them what accountability looks like. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Moving Mountain Mondays and the J Lunch Club. We're in The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Ford Owens. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Reverend, just before we came forward, you said that you had some insights into the South African space on the refugee question. Your thoughts?
Yeah. The federal government has had traditionally large contracts for refugee resettlement with various religious organizations, among them Church World Service, which was created 40 some years ago. They used to be part of the National Council of Churches. 80% of their budget was cut when Trump came back into the White House. And he had done a similar thing during his first term. When they put forth the policies that said white South Afrikaners would be those who, and only a few thousand of them would be allowed to enter, the Episcopal Church immediately cut all contracts with the federal government. The Lutherans decided to kind of wait and see how things were going to be done. But this is something that the mainline denominations and the historically Black denominations have discussed in our gatherings and been very concerned about. I've been very vocal with Church World Service, trying to get information from them, letting them know I serve a church that says that one of its priorities is to be an anti-racist church. And on its face, that you would allow white South Afrikaners as refugees when they don't even really meet any international definition of there's no war, there's no famine, the economic impact. Black South Afrikaners would come closer to meeting the requisites for refugee status traditionally under our law than white South Afrikaners. But there are some groups that are still kind of trying to think about, well, if we lose all of this money, then we're not going to be able to serve the refugees that are already here in the country. And how do we do this? And my response to that has been, in what scenario have you ever seen the Trump administration operate in good faith? Can you really trust that somehow, if you just stick in there, they're going to land and do the right thing? But people have been very, we're having conversations in the Christian community. People are not willing. My question is, who are you? Who do you say that you are? Be that thing. What are your values and your standards? I'm telling you what my church stands for. We're not happy with some of these decisions. And if you're juggling a lot of things to think about, help us, educate me on the things that you're calling into account as you're making some of these decisions. But people are playing games and sadly playing footsie. And there are agencies in Kenya actually that are validating or vetting the South Afrikaner refugees. Now, somebody told me that the rejection rate for the South Afrikaners is slightly higher than it is normally for refugees, which is small comfort in the situation where you have so few, no one else from countries around the world that we know are facing war, famine, a natural disaster, hunger, civil war, no room for any of those people whose humane needs are real and palpable. And you're going to privilege white South Afrikaners, themselves perpetrators of some of the brutal apartheid on the planet. So it's an ongoing conversation. And sadly, you'll always have people who are trying to play the game to keep the money. And
so let's say I'm I'm going to go out on a limb here. Let's say I'm a white South African, and my family has lived in South Africa for multiple generations. I'm not going to say 2 generations, 3 generations. Let's just say 10 generations, 100 years, 150 years, maybe longer. And now I come to the United States and I see myself as an African because I was born and raised in South Africa. Then I come to the United States as a refugee and I seek naturalized citizenship. Madam President, what am I? Am I an African American?
I personally just prefer to call people of African descent Black.
Okay, I hear you. But they get to come here and say they're African.
They will say they're African. They will, and their whole system and culture has been built on privileging the amount of Dutch blood that you have flowing through your veins. Hence the Afrikaans.
So here come these new African Americans.
I think they will split the baby on that themselves.
Yeah, I think they probably will, but they will also be fighting for contracts as African Americans and claiming a minority status of being
in their case, I think in their case, the African status is actually a national status. They are South Afrikaners.
That's how you and I see them, but
that's how we see them. But I get your point, and I wouldn't put it past them. I don't want to denigrate these people.
I'm just trying to unpack the 14th Amendment.
But they have benefited. They have benefited. Yeah, they have benefited just as white people in the United States have benefited. This wasn't my ancestors. I didn't do that. But they benefited from apartheid. Even if they were among the poorest of South Afrikaners, they benefited from the racial system of apartheid. Really so to now say that you're being hurt because Black people
and you seek a remedy under our 14th Amendment, for equal protection of the laws, when you yourself were a perpetrator of unequal protection of the laws in South Africa. Now you come here as an African American from South Africa, having the full privileges and immunities of the United States, including the protection of the 14th Amendment. And as a South African, you get to look at an African American and say, Negro, you need to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps.
That's right.
You're not working hard enough. I just got here from South Africa. I ain't complaining about nothing.
Yeah.
I'm getting land. I'm getting tax breaks. I'm not paying any taxes because of the program that they have me coming into with my Trump Gold Card.
Yeah. Race infuses everything in the United States. Every single thing. And until we're honest about that, we're not going to get where we need to go.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Howard Owens. The 14th Amendment, they are turning it on its head, and we expect a decision tomorrow on birthright citizenship that could change for the next 100 years or foreseeable future the interpretation of the 14th Amendment. That is one of the Reconstruction Amendments that is largely responsible for the citizenship rights of every single American, especially the descendants of slaves, for whom their citizenship rights did not exist before the 14th Amendment. It's hard to imagine a world without the 14th Amendment, but certainly an interpretation or a new interpretation of the 14th Amendment could be devastating to what it means to be an African American. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Howard Owens. More when we come forward right here at KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gas prices got you down. LADWP customers get a rebate of up to $4,000 when you buy a used electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle. Installing an EV charger at your home? Get a rebate for that too, up to $1,500. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like nuclear reactor safety expert.
I disabled the backup cooling system. It was making such an annoying noise. You heard it, right? It was like,
we're on a countdown to core failure.
And you're saying we don't want that?
This is a job for sponsored jobs.
This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the J Lunch Club, The Faith Not to Fall, with Reverend Terry Hord Owens on Moving Mountain Mondays. Terry, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. It's always so good to talk to you.
Terry, I got the mail-in voting decision wrong earlier today, and I called my mother and said, "Can you believe it? Mama, they just outlawed mail-in voting." And my mother said, "That's because I got it wrong." She said, "That's a good thing. That's a good thing. There's too much corruption in voting and all of this." So she went through her whole thing. And I said, "Mom, but wait a second." So I called her back 10 minutes later and said, "Oh, no, Mom. What they actually did was just referred it over to the states. And so now the states get to set the standards, which is, more states' rights, more separate and unequal, and yada, yada, yada." Then she said, "Oh." So there's another decision, however, that I think is actually more impactful in the Black community than we can ever truly appreciate it. I'm going to read it to you, Terry, because it's kind of obscure, but it is a case that was decided today. The court separately ruled that law enforcement Their use of something called a geofence warrant legally constitutes a search under the Fourth Amendment. This case establishes that police must meet a constitutional threshold of probable cause before demanding location data from tech companies to identify every mobile device present in a specific area when a crime is committed. Now, that's a tech warrant, right?
Mhm.
But what it really says is that before the warrant decision, the GeoForce warrant decision was offered today, local police departments have been following your cell phone, your devices, and they know where you are simply because it's in your pocket, because your phone is on or your SIM card is in. They know where you are. And now, if you are in the area where a crime is being committed, they are able, local police departments, to get all of the data to find out if you were anywhere near the crime.
Yeah.
Now the court is saying, before you do that, you better have probable cause. And all of the cases where they've gotten the data before they had probable cause ought to be of great concern to people in our community. Madam President?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's just that's just so wrong on its face. It's just so wrong. You know, every time I get a new phone, I'm looking for YouTube videos that tell me how to turn on this privacy thing, how to turn off that privacy thing. You know, I share my location with my husband, but I try to lock a lot of that stuff down because you don't need to know where I am. You just have no right. You have no right for me to answer my phone when you call me if I choose not to. I mean, it's just that we just have certain privacy expectations. And you're right. There are cities and suburbs in Cook County where you and I spend most of our time. You've already got video cameras. Let's look at what happens when they don't want to find people. Whoever set the cross on fire in Grant Park last month. The idea that there was no video in Grant Park of who those persons were, or that there wasn't any way to determine who did that. Mighty funny that they couldn't seem to pull together all of this technology to make some of those immediate decisions. But again, when we live in an environment where the law, that whatever the historic intentions were to establish equity and justice, when we have people in power who have a more exclusive mindset and a racist exclusionary mindset and a misogynist exclusionary mindset and a nativism exclusionist mindset, any wiggle room that is offered, we cannot count on people doing the right thing. That's why Dr. King says, I can't legislate your hearts, but I can legislate your action. I can insist, and we're trying to give people wiggle room to decide whether or not they want to do the right thing, instead of in our nation having some principles and some values. And I would argue that these values are beyond just being Christian. They are values that are part of the common law, that are, no matter what tradition, no tradition you have, treating each other right so that we can all prosper together has been an important part of human survival from the very beginning. And when we allow people to attack that, I'm not sure what we say about our society. So yeah, I'm very scared, because people are limited to where they can live and be in many ways because of socioeconomics. If you don't have certain kinds of resources, your world may be circumscribed by how far you can walk or how far you can go on the L. I have taken young people downtown for dinner who'd never been north of 47th Street. And I'm talking in the last 20 years. People who have never seen a broader expanse. So if your socioeconomic oppression limits you to a particular space, and then that concentrates us because of how the United States' racial constructs are so built, we're segregating, based on class. We're segregating based on race just because of the opportunities that people do not have. And so therefore we get labeled as being crime ridden because there's X number of blacks in a certain area. But there's no way that this ends well. There's no way that we can trust the government to obey the law and due process and respect privacy. There's just no way. We will be litigating every single case. I just don't trust it. I do not trust it.
Madam President, I'm going to take a privilege here for just a moment. I have to remind myself in this moment that, again, there were 157 July 4ths from 1619 until July 4th, 1776. Another 88 July 4ths from July 4th, 1776 to 1863. 88 July 4ths until that moment of 1863. And at no point in time did July 4th apply to us.
Right.
It's not until the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States in 1867, 1868, that the Fourth Amendment even applied to us. The Fourth Amendment, the right to reasonable searches and seizures, and the idea of probable cause did not apply to us.
Right.
And now here we are, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and we are being told by the Supreme Court that they've been following us all along, that now they need a warrant to do what they've been doing.
And look who's been feeding into the coffers of the current administration. The tech oligarchs who are creating this technology, and what they're hoping to influence is as little regulation as possible.
Isn't that something? I mean, we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of freedom. And yet the Supreme Court is telling us you've never had freedom until this decision. Until this decision. We've been listening to you. We've been following you. And now we're making the police get a warrant to justify being in your business. That's the system that we live in. And that's honest. That's an honest interpretation of July 4th. Madam President, we only have a few seconds. Some final thoughts.
First of all, they said the quiet part out loud there. But going back to always trying to leave us with some sense of hope. There's no way that we can get tired or weary of paying attention to this. I think I was with a circle of friends at a service, and they're doing some lobbying today in DC around immigration, and with a large group of Latino Christians last night. And they sang this wonderful song, "I'm a Citizen." I'm a citizen. And if many of them are naturalized, but we can't give up hope now. There's just too much work to do. And if we believe that our cause is right, we just simply have to keep working and trust that our God will hear us. That's what I believe. I believe our God will be with us, but we must participate with God in this work of justice.
Thank you, Madam President. Look forward to our time together next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dale Hughley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.